The planet was dying, or at least it felt that way to Jack. His feet dragged through the cracked dirt as the twin suns burned above, drying sweat before it could even form. He had been lost for days now, wandering alone after his convoy was ambushed. His squad was gone, his comms were silent, and worst of all, his canteen had only a few drops of water left. Every breath scraped against his throat like sandpaper, and his legs felt heavier with each step. Still, he walked. Jack was human, a soldier of the Alliance, sent to monitor the border of alien territory. But nobody told him the Hive would break the peace. Nobody told him they would strike first and without warning. Now he was alone behind enemy lines, stranded in a wasteland of sharp winds, dry air, and distant howls. He hadn't seen another living soul in days. Just the endless gray-blue sand and alien rocks. Then he heard it, a sound so soft he almost ignored it. A weak cry, barely louder than the wind. Jack turned his head sharply, eyes scanning the dune just ahead. The cry came again, faint, high-pitched, not human. He forced his legs forward, stumbling up the slope. What he saw at the top made him freeze. A figure was collapsed in the sand, cloaked in tattered robes. She was cradling something. Small, wrapped in furs, squirming weakly. The woman was blue-skinned with long white hair clinging to her face. Her eyes glowed faint gold through heavy eyelids. He knew what she was. A Hive Queen. Or what was left of one. He could have turned back. She was the enemy. Her kind had killed his squad. Her species had declared war. But Jack didn't move. He looked at the infant in her arms. The child's skin was pale blue, its lips cracked, its breaths shallow and struggling. The mother's lips moved, but no sound came out. She was too weak. Dying. Both of them were dying. Jack's hand moved on its own. He pulled out his canteen and unscrewed the cap. The last few drops of water sloshed inside. He hesitated. This was it. All he had. If he drank it, he might live a little longer. If he gave it to them, he wouldn't. He knelt beside them and held the canteen to her lips. She stared at him for a moment, confused, unsure, but too weak to resist. The water touched her mouth and she flinched. Then slowly, she drank. He tilted the bottle further and let the final drops drip into the baby's mouth. The child let out a soft cough, then a whimper. Its tiny hand reached for the air, trembling but alive. The Queen's eyes filled with light. Not anger. Not fear. Something else. She stared at him, blinking slowly, her expression unreadable. Then she whispered something in her native tongue and cradled the baby closer. Jack leaned back, breath shaking. He had just given his last water to the enemy. Maybe he was losing his mind. Maybe it didn't matter anymore. He sat in the sand beside them, too tired to care. He expected her to strike, to end him right there, but she didn't move. She just stared at him, silent and strange. As the twin suns lowered on the horizon, casting orange light across the sands, Jack closed his eyes for a moment. The Queen hadn't run. The baby hadn't cried again. Somewhere in the silence between them, something had changed. He didn't know what it was yet, but it wasn't war. Jack didn't remember falling asleep, but when he woke, the suns were gone. The cold had crept into his bones, sharp and unforgiving. The desert changed at night. What was once heat and light became wind and silence. He opened his eyes and saw her still there. The Hive Queen had not left. She hadn't even moved far. She sat across from him, arms tightly wrapped around her child, watching him. Her glowing eyes didn't blink. They just stared. Not with threat, but with something he couldn't name. He sat up slowly, his body stiff. His throat was dry, tongue like paper. He had nothing left. No food, no water, no weapons worth a fight. Yet she hadn't harmed him. He didn't understand why. He had expected claws, venom, or some hive trick. Instead, she had simply watched. The child stirred, letting out a soft noise. Jack looked down at it. The baby was breathing easier now, its tiny chest rising and falling with steadier rhythm. That small improvement felt like a victory. Then the Queen spoke. Not in her language this time, but something close to his. Her voice was deep, slow, and careful, like she was shaping each word for the first time. You gave life. Jack blinked. I gave water. She tilted her head. Same thing. To Hive, that is life. He didn't answer. What could he say? He had acted on instinct. No orders, no logic, just a choice he couldn't take back. You are enemy, she added. But you are not enemy now. Jack frowned. I didn't do it for politics. The Queen nodded slowly. You did it for child. He looked at the baby again. It didn't choose this war. She was silent after that. Her eyes still held him. Sharp, intelligent, measuring him. Finally, she said, I am Sile, Queen of Nestkar. I name you, not pray. Jack didn't know what to do with that. A name? A title? Permission to live? All of it felt strange. He had grown up hearing stories about the Hive. Ruthless, cold, monstrous. But now here was one before him. Not as a monster, but as a mother. He rubbed his hands together for warmth. We can't stay here, he said at last. If the Hive patrol finds me, they'll kill me. CL narrowed her eyes. If they find me, they will try to kill me too. I am broken, Queen, I fled. Why? She looked down at her child. Because they wanted her dead. Jack stared. Your own Hive? She was born wrong, Seal said softly. Too weak, too slow, not perfect. He looked at the baby again. It looked like any other child to him. Small, fragile, alive, but not a monster. I won't let her die, he said without thinking. The Queen looked up again. There was a strange heat behind her glowing gaze now. You already chose. You gave her life. That makes you part of her. Jack frowned. I don't understand. She leaned forward, her voice almost a whisper. Hive law. He who gives life to queen blood must stay, must give seed. He froze. What? You gave water. Now she lives. Hive sees it as bond. You are now hers and mine. He felt his heart pounding. I didn't mean for that. But it is done. Jack stood up. I didn't ask to be part of your Hive. Sile stood too, her child still in her arms, her glowing eyes calm but firm. Then run. But know this. Others will come. Cold ones, cruel ones. You saved a queen child. They will hunt you. She carries your scent now. Jack's breath caught in his throat. You may not wish to stay, she said. But leaving is no longer your choice. He looked at the cold desert, the stars above, and the Queen standing before him with his last water still keeping her child alive. And deep down, he knew. She wasn't wrong. The night had stretched longer than it should have. Jack kept walking beside Seal, not saying much. She moved like someone who had led armies once, but now walked only for the sake of her child. Her strength was fading, but her pride wasn't. The baby, wrapped tightly in her arms, made small noises now and then. Not cries, just signs that she was still breathing. They had left the open desert and moved into the frost canyons. Tall, jagged stone walls curved above them like giant ribs. The air was colder here, but safer from the patrol eyes in the sky. Jack's boots crunched on hard ground. His fingers ached. His thoughts swirled. You know they'll come for me, he said quietly. Your Hive, my people, both. Sile didn't look at him. Yes, that is why I keep walking. You're not dragging me into your Hive. You are already in it, she said simply. Jack stopped. I'm not one of you, she finally turned. You gave water. To us that is not small. It is not kindness. It is bond, he rubbed his temples. I just wanted to help. That's all. Your child was dying. And now she lives. Because of you, he fell silent. There was no winning this argument. She had already decided. In her mind, the bond was real, unbreakable, and part of him didn't want to argue. Not fully, because every time he looked at that baby, something stirred inside him, a strange sense of duty. Maybe guilt, maybe more. Suddenly, CL raised her hand. Jack froze. A low, clicking sound echoed down the canyon. Not wind, not animals. Hive scouts. She moved fast, pressing herself and the child against the rock wall. Jack followed, flattening himself into a crack between two stones. The sound grew louder, sharp feet clacking against stone, glowing red eyes in the dark. 3 Hive warriors passed by, their bodies armored, tall and silent. They didn't see them. Not yet. Seal's hand moved toward her side, toward a hidden blade beneath her cloak. Her baby didn't make a sound. Jack held his breath. The warriors paused. One of them tilted its head, sniffed. Jack's pulse thudded. Then the warriors moved on. Silence returned. They stayed frozen for another full minute before Sile moved again. She whispered, "They follow the baby's scent. She smells like you now," he whispered back. "How do we stop that?" She looked at him. "We don't. We go deeper." He didn't like the sound of that. What's deeper? Old Hive, forgotten place. Not part of war. Not part of New Queen's rule. He followed her again. The cliffs around them seemed to grow taller. The wind became sharper, but something about her movements changed. Slower. Weaker. "You're hurt," he said. She shook her head. "Not hurt, drained. The child feeds from me." Jack looked at her. The proud queen, once feared and untouchable, now barely standing. She had not eaten, not rested, yet she kept going. He took off his coat. She tried to refuse it, but he wrapped it around her anyway. "You gave us life," she said softly. He shook his head. "I'm not sure why anymore." She looked up at him. "Because it was right." They reached a narrow crack in the cliff wall. Seal touched it with her hand. The stone responded with a pulse of dim blue light. An ancient gate slid open. Jack looked inside. It was dark, deep and cold. "Welcome to the place no Hive remembers," she said. "Here, no rules reach." He looked at her. "And what happens now?" Sile stepped into the darkness. "Now we hide. And if you live long enough, you will give her more than water." Jack stood still for a moment. Then he stepped in after her. The gate closed. The stone gate shut behind them, sealing out the cold wind and fading light. Jack blinked in the dark. The silence inside the cave was heavy, like it had been waiting for someone to enter for a long time. The walls glowed faint blue, pulsing slowly with lines of old Hive energy, like veins under alien skin. Seal moved carefully, one hand guiding her along the wall, the other holding her child close. Jack followed, his boots echoing softly on the stone floor. The further they went, the more the air changed. It smelled older here, damp, full of dust and old memories. "What is this place?" he asked. Seal's voice was quiet. "An ancient nest, abandoned before I was born. Before the war. Before the Hive split." Jack looked around. Strange symbols were etched into the walls. Some pulsed gently, others stayed dark. He couldn't read them, but he felt their weight. This place had history, power, and maybe danger. Seal stopped before a curved wall. She touched her palm to a marking and the stone shifted, opening a small chamber. Inside were soft glowing stones, worn bedding, and carved shelves that still held sealed containers. She stepped in and placed her child gently on the bedding. The baby whimpered, but then curled into the warmth and settled. Jack stepped in too, looking around. "No one's lived here in years." "Which is why it is safe," she said. "They will not search here." He looked at her. Her face had grown paler, her steps slower, her hands trembled. "You need food," Seal nodded. "In the containers. Old Hive rations. Maybe still clean." Jack opened one. The scent hit him, sweet, metallic, dry, like honey mixed with metal dust. He handed it to her. She ate slowly, barely chewing, just enough to regain strength. Then she gave some to the baby, who drank from her fingers. They sat in silence. The chamber glowed gently. Outside, the dark tunnels stretched endlessly. Jack spoke softly. "You said your Hive wanted your child dead." Sile didn't look up. "Weakness is forbidden. The Hive must be strong, perfect, pure. Any flaw is removed." He clenched his fists. "And you ran to save her. She is my first, my last born from me in secret. I broke every law." He looked at her. You risked everything. I did not plan to survive, she said. Jack sat down across from her. Then why let me save you? She met his eyes. Because you looked at her. Not like prey, not like a mistake, but like a child, he exhaled slowly. She's just a baby. In Hive eyes, that makes you dangerous. You saw her humanity. Jack rested his head against the wall. I'm a soldier. I wasn't trained for this. You're more than soldier now, she whispered. He closed his eyes. What am I then? She reached out and touched his chest gently. You are her future. Jack didn't move. Her hand was warm. Her touch was careful, not forceful. Not hive-like, but soft, tired, real. I don't know if I can be what you think I am, he said. She nodded. Then be what she needs. That is enough. Silence settled again. Far outside, in the endless desert, red eyes searched the ground. Inside the ancient nest, a human and a queen rested, together, waiting for a world that would not understand them. The days inside the ancient hive were quiet, but Jack could never relax. Every sound in the tunnels made his heart jump. Each time he checked the small glowing entrance crystal, he half expected to see glowing red hive eyes staring back. But nothing came. Not yet. Seal spent most of her time with the baby, who now made soft humming noises and sometimes even smiled. Jack watched them from across the chamber, still unsure what role he was supposed to play. He wasn't her mate. He wasn't a father. He was just a man who gave his last water. But somehow that moment had changed everything. Sile had recovered a little. Her skin held more color now. Her voice was stronger, but something still felt off. She watched Jack closely, not with suspicion, but with something else. As if she was waiting for him to accept something he didn't fully understand yet. One evening, after feeding the child, she turned to him. The hive bond. It is not only blood, it is choice. And you have made yours, Jack raised an eyebrow. I didn't choose anything. You stayed, she said. I had nowhere else to go, but you could have run. You did not, he leaned back. I didn't want the child to die. That's all. Sile stepped closer. To the hive, that is everything. Jack looked down. He was tired of hearing about hive laws and traditions. He didn't care about their ancient rules. But what scared him was how much this place, this queen, was starting to feel less like an enemy and more like something else. Something close. She sat beside him, the baby asleep between them. The glow from the stones lit her face softly. In our kind, she said, when one gives life to the queen's child, it creates a seed bond. Jack exhaled slowly. You've said that before. I still don't know what it means. She turned her head toward him. It means you belong, that your bloodline must not end, that you must give more, to continue what was started. He shifted uncomfortably. You mean children? She nodded. The hive does not waste gifts, Jack laughed dryly. You're calling me a gift now? You gave without asking. That is rare. That is valuable. He looked at her. And if I say no? She blinked. Then I protect you still. But the child will remain hunted. She will not be accepted without more strength. Without more blood like yours. Jack ran a hand through his hair. He wanted to scream, but he couldn't. Because she wasn't threatening him. She wasn't forcing him. She was simply asking. The baby stirred and reached out a hand. Jack caught it gently. The tiny fingers wrapped around his thumb. Seal watched the touch. Her voice softened. You gave your last drop for her. That is more than any hive male ever did for his queen. He stayed quiet for a long time. Finally, he asked, What's her name? Sale smiled. It was the first true smile he had seen from her. Ziri. It means light from broken stone. Jack looked at the child. Ziri, that's beautiful. She turned her gaze to him again. So is your name. To me. He didn't know what to say to that. Outside the chamber, the ancient hive pulsed with old life. Inside, something new was quietly beginning to grow. Days passed quietly inside the hidden hive, but the silence was never peaceful. Jack started to dream of running, of soldiers, of fire. Each time he woke, his breath was sharp, his back wet with sweat. And every time the same two faces greeted him, Ziri, now stronger and louder, and Seal watching without blinking. Ziri had started to laugh. Her tiny voice echoed softly in the stone chamber. Jack didn't know much about alien babies, but she looked happy, and that mattered more to him than he expected. He found himself watching her sleep, holding her when Seal rested, even humming old Earth songs without realizing. Seal noticed all of it. "You change," she said one evening as they shared the last bit of Hive rations. Jack gave her a tired look. "I'm stuck in a cave with a queen and a baby. Of course I've changed." She tilted her head. "No, your eyes changed. You look rooted," he chuckled. "Rooted? I'm not a tree." In Hive words, rooted means connected. "Not ready to leave." Jack stared into the dim light. He didn't want to admit it, but she was right. He should have been counting the hours until he could escape. Instead, he counted Ziri's breaths, Sile's small moments of peace, and the strange warmth of not being alone. But not all warmth is safety. That night, Jack heard something new in the tunnels. A hum. A low vibration, almost like a warning. Sile heard it too. She stood quickly, her eyes sharp again. "They come." Jack grabbed the small Hive dagger she had given him days ago, useless against trained warriors, but better than nothing. "Ziri," Sial whispered. She lifted the baby and wrapped her in tighter fabric. "We must move to the inner nest. Older protections still sleep there." Jack followed her through twisting paths. The glowstones dimmed as they went deeper. The hum behind them grew louder. Then came the clicks, the soft hiss of Hive scouts. They reached a sealed doorway, an archway covered in glowing runes. Seal placed her hand on the stone. It didn't open. She tried again. Nothing. "They closed it," she said. "The old queen sealed this path. It needs two." Jack stepped beside her. "What do I do?" "Touch the center. Give your heat, your intent." He placed his hand on the cold surface. At first, nothing happened. Then he felt it, something pulling, recognizing him. The stone pulsed once, then opened. They stepped inside just as the first scout appeared in the shadows. Inside was a deeper chamber, warmer, glowing with blue light. And on the far side stood something strange, an altar of some kind. Ancient, covered in vines and stone carvings. But more than that, Jack felt something alive in the walls. Not a being, but memory. Old Hive presence watching. Seal breathed heavily. "This is the deep nest. Only one queen before me ever entered." Jack stepped carefully, holding Ziri in his arms while Seal closed the entrance behind them with another whisper to the stone. He turned to her. "Why are they after Ziri so badly?" "She is not just my child," Sile said slowly. "She is something new. She holds both our lives in her blood." Jack blinked. "What are you saying?" "She is Hive, but touched by your choice. That changes her fate." The chamber pulsed softly as if agreeing. "You gave life," she whispered, stepping close. "Now you must give again." Jack's voice was dry. "You want more children?" She placed her hand on his chest. "Not for the Hive, for her, for what comes after." He looked down at the baby in his arms. Ziri opened her bright golden eyes and smiled. Jack didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but for now, he didn't say no. Jack sat beside the glowing altar, holding Ziri close to his chest. She had fallen asleep again, safe in the folds of his jacket. The stone beneath him was warm, humming faintly. He could feel the life of the old Hive pulsing around them, as if it remembered its purpose and now watched them silently. Sile stood near the wall, her hands brushing ancient symbols carved deep into the stone. Her eyes glowed gently, not with threat but with thought. She was quiet for a long time before she spoke. "There was a time," she said, "when the Hive was not ruled by fear." Jack looked at her. "You mean before the war?" She nodded. "Before the queens became tools, before they lost the right to choose." He didn't respond. He could hear something in her voice, something softer than before. Not just survival now, but pain, regret. Seal turned to him. "I was born to lead, trained since larva stage, but never allowed to want." Jack raised his brow. "And now you do?" She walked slowly toward him. "Now I have seen something outside Hive law." "I have seen you." He looked away. "I'm not special. You gave your last breath to a dying enemy's child," she said. "In my world, that is sacred." He shook his head. "I didn't know she was royal, or that it would lead to this, but you didn't take it back." Even now, Jack didn't argue. He couldn't. She was right. Something in him had changed. Ziri wasn't just an alien child anymore. She was his reason. Even Sile, he didn't see her as just a queen now. She was something else too. Something broken and healing. Sile knelt in front of him. Her white hair shimmered in the glowing light. The old Hive believed in bond by will, not by force. That is what you created, not through command, but choice. Jack's voice dropped. You keep saying bond. It means more than mating, she said. It means we are linked in breath, in memory, in the future. That even if I die, part of me will remain with you. He looked down at Ziri. Her small chest rose and fell peacefully. She carries our blood, Sile said, but the Hive won't stop. They will not accept her. Or you. Jack tightened his arms around the child. Then let them come. Seal stared at him. There was no smile. Just silence. She touched his hand gently. If you truly mean that, then I will give you what no queen has given before. What is that? She leaned in closer. The seed rite, performed not by Hive command but by union of will. Jack frowned. I thought that was already decided. She shook her head. Not unless you choose it freely. He paused. The air around them had shifted. Not just Hive tradition now. Not pressure, but a strange kind of trust, alien, but real. I'm not Hive, he said softly. No, she whispered. You are something older. Something truer? He took a breath. Then tell me what to do. She placed both hands on his chest. Close your eyes. And feel the bond. Not with mind. With heart. Jack obeyed. A soft hum filled the room. The glowstones pulsed in time with his breathing. He felt her thoughts, memories of fire, exile, loneliness. He felt her pain. And her hope. Then deeper still he felt Ziri. A small burning spark of new life. Part alien, part human. Something the galaxy had never seen before. His hand moved gently to Sile's. Their fingers interlocked. She didn't speak again. She didn't need to. The bond had begun. Jack awoke to the soft rhythm of breath. 2 slow patterns and 1 fast, small one. He blinked and saw Ziri curled beside him and Sile sitting nearby, eyes open, alert but calm. The air in the ancient Hive chamber was still warm, pulsing gently with the light from the glowing altar stones. It had been hours since the bond had begun. He hadn't spoken much since then. Neither had she. But something between them had shifted. CL now looked at him differently, not with command or challenge, but with trust. The kind of trust that came only after everything else had been stripped away. You feel it now? She said softly. Jack nodded. Yes, it is not just blood, she added. It is memory. My thoughts, my pain, my loyalty. Jack looked down at Ziri. I felt her too. She's strong. Even though she's small, Sile smiled. She is stronger than any queen before her. Because she was not born from power, she was born from choice. Jack stood slowly. His body still ached from days without enough food or water, but his mind was sharper now. The Hive's cold rituals, their endless rules, their war machines, none of it made sense to him anymore. But this small chamber, this tiny child, this exiled queen, this was something real, something worth protecting. We'll have to leave soon, Jack said. We can't stay hidden forever, Seal nodded. I know, the Hive scouts are patient. They will search every crack in the desert until they find this place. Jack looked at the stone entrance. Is there another way out? There is one, she said. But it leads to the deep wilds. The land no Hive dares cross. Why? Because it belongs to the forgotten. Old creatures. Exiles like me. Not Hive, not human, but something in between, Jack frowned. You think we can survive there? No, she said. But I think Ziri can. He turned sharply. What do you mean? Ciel reached out and touched his hand. If we fail, if they take me, you must run with her. You must protect her even if I fall. Jack's jaw tightened. You're not dying. You don't understand. If they catch us, they will not just kill me. They will take her. They will use her blood to grow a new hive. He stepped closer. Then we don't let them. Seal looked up at him, eyes glowing gold in the blue light. You speak like a father now. He nodded slowly. I don't know what I am anymore, but I know I won't let them touch her. For a moment everything was silent, then a sound, a soft echo, a scrape of metal against stone. Jack turned. They're here. Seal moved quickly. She placed Ziri in his arms. Take her through the back tunnel. I will delay them. No, Jack growled. We go together. There is no time. He gripped her shoulder. I didn't come this far to let you die. She looked at him one last time, then leaned forward and pressed her forehead against his. Then we fight. Behind them, the stone walls began to glow red. The hive had found them. The walls of the ancient hive chamber pulsed with red light, warning of the intruders moving closer. Jack's heartbeat matched the rhythm. He shifted Ziri in his arms, holding her tighter as her small eyes blinked up at him, unaware of the danger just beyond the stone. Sile moved to the entrance, her movements swift and silent. Her long fingers brushed a forgotten panel hidden in the wall. A thin spear of bone slid out into her hand, a weapon of the old queen's. She turned to Jack. You take the child and go. I'll hold them here. Jack stepped forward, voice sharp. No, we're not splitting up. She didn't argue. Not anymore. She saw the fire in his eyes and nodded once. Then we stand together. But know this, if they see Ziri, they'll call for a culling strike. They'll burn the entire nest. Jack looked down at the baby in his arms. Then they'll have to get through me first. Footsteps echoed down the corridor. Clicks, claws, mechanical breathing. Then came a voice, cold, sharp, metallic. Queen Sile, you are surrounded. Surrender the child. End this. Jack backed up toward the deeper tunnels. We need to fall back. No, Sile whispered. They want us to move. There may be traps deeper in. This room is protected by old hive tech. If we stand our ground, we may hold them. The entrance cracked open. 3 hive warriors entered, tall, armored. Their eyes glowed red. They moved in unison, insect-like. Their weapons raised. One of them froze when it saw Ziri in Jack's arms, hybrid. It hissed. The word carried weight, power, fear. Jack tightened his grip and stepped in front of Ziri. Seal stepped beside him. You will not touch her. The lead warrior pointed a clawed finger. She is forbidden. She must be cleansed. The human must be dissected. The queen, reset. Jack raised the old dagger Seal had given him. Come try. The warriors lunged. Seal moved like lightning. Her bone spear sliced across the air, cutting into the nearest hive's neck. Black blood splashed the wall. Jack ducked as a claw swiped past his head. He kicked the attacker in the chest and rolled behind a stone pillar, shielding Ziri with his body. The third hive raised its plasma staff, but before it could strike, Sile's spear drove through its chest. 2 down, but more were coming. Sile grabbed Jack's hand. There's a trigger stone. A fallback trap. It will seal the chamber and bury the tunnels. But once activated, there's no turning back. Jack looked at her. Will it protect Ziri? Yes, and you, he frowned. What about you? She didn't answer. No, Jack said. We do this together. Or not at all. She stared at him, torn between duty and something else. Then for the first time she nodded slowly. Then you must take the vow. Not hive vow, a vow of your kind. Jack stepped forward. Then I swear, on my life, I will protect Ziri and you. I'll fight with you. I won't run. Seal's eyes shimmered. Behind them, more hive approached. She grabbed the trigger stone from the wall. Jack held Ziri close and Seal said, Then may the hive remember this day not as betrayal but as the beginning. The chamber began to tremble. The ceiling cracked and the hive stormed in. The chamber shook as the ancient hive structure began to collapse. Dust fell from above. Cracks ran across the glowing walls, and the entrance behind them sealed with a thunderous crash of stone. Jack wrapped his body tightly around Ziri, shielding her as debris tumbled. Sile stood tall, her bone spear raised, eyes glowing brighter than ever before. The hive warriors who had entered were now trapped inside with them. The first wave attacked. Seal met them head on. Her movements were no longer slow or careful. They were precise, powerful. She fought like a queen defending the last piece of her soul. Jack moved to her side using the old dagger and whatever strength he had left. They fought together, clumsy but unstoppable. 2 figures standing for a child the hive wanted erased. Ziri began to cry. Not from fear, but from something deeper, like she could feel the war around her. Ciel heard it. She turned to Jack. The bond is complete. She is old hive and new blood. Her cry is the signal Jack didn't understand. What signal? Sile pressed her hand to the ground. That she lives. That the true hive lives. And that the false queens will fall. The room responded. A pulse echoed through the ancient stone. Not a sound but a call. Outside, far from the buried nest, hive outcasts, exiled queens, and hidden scouts paused. They felt it, a shift. A presence long forgotten had awakened. A new queen born not of command but of unity, and she had survived. Back inside, the final warrior lunged toward Ziri. Jack threw his body between them, but Seal was faster. She drove the spear through the hive's chest. The creature screamed and fell. Silence returned. The dust settled. Jack sat down, his body shaking, cuts on his arms and blood drying on his hands. Ziri blinked up at him from his chest. She smiled. Seal knelt beside them. Her breathing was slow, her hands trembling. Jack noticed a deep wound on her side. She had been hurt but never showed it. "You need rest," he said. She shook her head. "I need only to see her future." He looked around. "This place? It's falling apart." "No," she whispered. "It's rebuilding itself." Around her, the blue lights grew brighter. The walls, once cracked, began to seal. The ancient hive wasn't dying. It was changing, responding, to Ziri, to Jack, to Sile. Jack stood up and helped Sile to her feet. "What now?" "We stay," she said. "Just for a while, until her power grows. Then we will rise, not as hive, not as human, but as something new." Jack nodded. "A family." Sile blinked at that word. Yes, that is the right word. Far above in the cold sky, the hive command ship circled, but they no longer had a signal. They could not find them. Ziri's cry had silenced their scanners and called something older from beneath the surface. Jack looked at the child in his arms. "She doesn't just carry both our blood." "No," Seal said. "She carries our hope." And in the deep heart of the buried hive, surrounded by silence and light, something entirely new was born. Not war. Not extinction, but peace, and it began with one drop of water.